Okay, let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5th annual Indie Entertainment Showcase presented by Kultura PR and Cloud 21. We're virtual again this year from the Sundance Film Festival, and hopefully next year we'll be live again. I'm Rehna Azim. I'm a barrister in London. I'm also a freelance film journalist, and I've written and produced 4 short films. So I have a very small inkling of what it's like to make a film, the challenges of it, and the rewards. But you're going to hear today from people who are far more experienced than I am. We've got a really fantastic panel of both renowned filmmakers, actors and actresses, and also up and coming rising stars of the entertainment industry. Before I go any further, we're going to have a panel discussion, but at the end of that, we would love to have questions from you. So please have your questions ready towards the end of the discussion. Now, we've got a lot to get through, so let me get on to our very first guest. Our first up is Ali Mahir Aksu. Welcome, Ali. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Rehna. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Ali is the founder and CEO of filmcapital.io and Auteur Academy. He's an international film producer, director, and entrepreneur. And because all of our panel are so talented, I'm going to have to read through all their accomplishments. But Ali is the executive producer of several groundbreaking projects, including the first ever Hollywood feature film to cast digital media talent distributed by Universal Studios. Film Capital is a community-focused Hollywood crowdfunding platform, and Auteur Academy is an educational platform to empower independent filmmakers. So welcome, Ali. As I say, lovely to see you again. We've talked before, but I hope that you're going to give us lots of positive news about film financing again this year.
Yeah, sure. I can't wait. excited now, to hear from everyone.
Great. And now we're going to see a trailer for one of your productions. That was great, Ali. Very positive messages there, looking to the future. And I'm going to come back and talk to you more about that shortly. Next up, we have Bobbie Dyer, who I think is the only one of us who's actually in Park City at the moment. Is that right, Bobbie? Hi, Bobbie. Bobbie is the executive producer and co-creator of Breakthrough, a mental health journey. It's scheduled for release later this year. It follows 5 mental health stories, including Bobbie's own, about her son Spencer, and we'll be hearing more about that shortly. Bobbie comes from a very different background. She has 30 years experience in mortgage banking and real estate, and she's currently the president of Dyer Mortgage, a boutique mortgage company providing home loans throughout Florida. Since 2018, she served on the Federal Reserve REIN committee and is a Florida Tech trustee. She's received more than 50 awards for community involvement, loan production, customer services, and leadership. And she's written for top publications such as USA Today. Bobbie, I'm tired just listening and to myself reading all of that out. Welcome this evening.
Thank you so much, and greetings from Park City.
Bobbie, we'll go to your film trailer now.
There is no doubt in my mind there is a mental health crisis in the United States today.
Alcoholism, drug abuse, gambling disorders, eating disorders, sexual addiction, just running rampant.
Social media, instant gratification, high levels of hypervigilance and stress that society has gone in, political conflict.
It's downplayed. People don't like talking about it. People don't think it's that important. People minimize mental health.
It's not if you're going to have a mental health issue in your life, it's when.
There's this tidal wave of brokenness and pain and issues that is coming at us in the field. And unless we work together, we're going to see it overtake us.
Healing is a journey. It's a process. It's a lifelong journey and process.
Just like you think about your physical health and staying healthy, how many times do you go to the gym up here? Mental health is a journey. Journeys aren't always straightforward, and it is something that is human.
There's always a light. And sometimes if the light's not around you, sometimes you got to be the light.
Wow, that's definitely a film to look out for.
Thank you.
Next up is Anna Fishbeyn, founder and president of Exo Feminist Productions and Anterior Films. Anna is an award-winning star of stage and screen, a filmmaker, director, author, and actress. Again, I'm tired just reading all of the things that she can do. Her first feature film, Galaxy 360, A Woman's Playground, which she wrote, directed, and stars in, recently had its world premiere at the American Film Market. The pre-release version of the film played to packed houses at Cannes and Big Apple and was a finalist of the Sundance New Frontier exhibition. Welcome, Anna. Lovely to see you again. We'll speak shortly. My next guest is Wendy Morgan.
Mr. World Beauty Pageant. Some of the talent here is just
smacking your ass.
It's remarkable, to say the least.
I think if you suck it in a little bit, suck it in, and then say wolves.
Wolves.
Good. Suck it in, suck it in, suck it in, suck it in, suck it in. I know you're not. I know you're not. I hate a potato. Too starving.
What are you doing? Last time you started this, you know what happened. You're doing it again. You're playing with my emotions.
We know it's against pageant rules to flirt or sexually harass men or demand sex from them.
Nothing will be done to you. Nothing will be done to you. Nothing.
My toes.
You can look. And you can touch.
Well, you can see why it's been so popular. Anna will come back and talk shortly. I'm sorry I jumped ahead to our next guest, who is Wendy Morgan. And Wendy is joining us from the UK. Wendy is an award-winning actress. Her career spans 43 years, and she's worked with some of the biggest names in the industry, including Richard Gere, Anthony Hopkins, Vanessa Redgrave, Helen Mirren, Patrick Stewart, Elizabeth Taylor, Tony Curtis, Rupert Everett, to name just a few. Wendy recently made her directorial debut with a powerful docudrama called Mercy. And in Mercy, she unveils the truth behind the devastation caused by animal agriculture. It's told through the eyes of a pig named Mercy, and also those involved in the factory farming industry. It's a really tough watch, but a very powerful film. The film recently secured a North American distribution deal with LA-based company All Channel Films. Welcome, Wendy.
Hi, Rehna. Thanks so much for having me, and hello, everyone.
Lovely to see you, and let's see a clip of the film now.
In court, the judges slowed their breathing, swallowed, bowed their heads and put their hands to their mouths as they viewed the footage. All of it caught on film. It was a long fight for it to be allowed as evidence. Eventually, it was.
3/4 of the world's new and emerging infectious diseases come from animals, mainly from trading in wildlife or from factory farming.
And it's my fault. I'm responsible.
I've got a job to do. I've got a family to feed.
I'm the consumer, paying them to do my dirty work.
As the animals are driven off the trucks, the workers must see them as pieces of meat, to be killed as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Pigs rank number 4 in animal intelligence behind chimpanzees, dolphins and elephants.
I remember being born. I do.
Very strong stuff there from Wendy, and we'll come back and talk about that shortly. And finally, I'd like to introduce actor and filmmaker Angelo Reyes. Angelo's acting credits include Hillbilly Elegy on Netflix, comedy crime drama The Bill Collector, HBO's The Outsider, and the 2013 drama thriller Killing Kennedy. Now Angelo is exploring his skills and talents as a director. And his project that we're going to be talking about today is a short film called 21st and Colonial. It's based on a true story, and it's about a young Black man struggling to support his family, who crosses paths with a police officer, an overworked police officer who suffers from PTSD. The film has been a strong favorite on the festival circuit. I've watched it, and it's a very strong piece of work and a fantastic debut. Angelo, hello and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And let's see the trailer for the film.
Let's go see what my buddy James is doing. Shit.
Hey, James, my brother.
You again. Fuck you want, man?
Where you going?
I ain't going nowhere. Working. What's
you
up?
Going to work. Boy, I got a time card now, huh?
Nothing you talking about.
The fuck, get in there, man.
Fuck off me,
Turn
man.
around. Turn around. Get in here. What are you doing? Get in the back
Fuck
of the
off
fucking
me,
car.
man.
Up against the wall. Spread it. What's wrong with you, man? What you got going?
I ain't got shit going.
Oh, you ain't got shit? Nothing?
No, nothing.
Oh, what about here? Oh, shit. What's this?
I don't know.
What's this? Yeah, you don't know.
Nah,
Neither
I don't
do I,
know.
because it's mine now. Thanks a lot, James.
Yeah, whatever, officer.
See you next time. What the fuck was Get in the fucking car. Stay out of trouble, James.
Hey, you stay out of trouble too, officer.
dressed.
I don't want to.
Say what?
I just want to go home.
Home to what? Ain't nobody wants you. Hey, do you see your mom looking for you? Any wanted posters out? I took you in. I bought you all these nice clothes, nice things. What, you think that's free? Baby, you're part of our stable now. I'll take care of you. Now get dressed. We out in 30.
Wow, Angelo, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Angelo, I'm going to start with you, even though we've gone in the different order. Very powerful debut, a very powerful film altogether. Before I come to the subject matter, how are you finding the transition from acting to directing and, I believe, producing?
Well, thank you for having me here and everybody on this panel. It's always great to see everyone. Yeah, so it's been pretty interesting. I think going to behind the camera, believe it or not, has made me a better actor, and as an actor, has made me a better director. So I could see the both ends. But it's been at first it was a little bit challenging just because of the fact that 21st and Colonial is one of my second short film projects that I did. Before that, I did Groom, which based on a lot of my projects are based on human impact stories and some based on true stories. That one is based on human trafficking back in Virginia as well. So a lot of this stuff has the same theme taking place in my personal area that I live in. But I learned a lot from the very first one. That as well, I was going back and forth as acting and directing. But my background is in creative production before I even started doing all that kind of stuff. So I was doing designing, producing, creative designing. So I kind of had that little bit of an experience in trying to develop something, but at the same time, being able to be in front and behind the camera and manage the whole entire team at the same time was a little bit of a challenge. But I like to rush. This is something that keeps me on my toes. And I mean, it's a learning experience and it's a long road, but I enjoy the journey.
And it's a particularly grim subject to take as your film subject. And it's a subject that's in the news a lot. And I believe this story is based on a true events.
Correct. Yeah. So the reel you saw, there was two. The reel we just saw, the first one is 21st Colonial. The second part of it was a different short film, so I don't want it to confuse the two there. But so yes, 21st and Colonial is based on a true event that happened in Norfolk, Virginia, where I live at. I got to know the family. So basically, what happened was Omar Johnson rolled up to a drive-through bank and was cashing in on a fraudulent check. Police were called, police officer came, and then he was shot 14 times while he's in the car. There was a lot of discrepancies within that whole entire event. It was going back and forth. So what I did was I knew the brother and I met the family and I started talking to them and say, hey, listen, I would like to really do a little story around your son, if that's possible. And they gave me the green light to do it. But it took me about a couple of years to do it. But there's a lot of different point of views within that story. So I was trying to get point of views from both sides. You know what I mean? That's why it's a parallel narrative, and that's why it connects and it goes really quick. And because I wanted to in a short film concept, it's hard to really, give out a message within those 15 minutes. So that's why it goes so fast and it's really great. And the cameras is always not on a shoulder cam, no jibs, no dollies, and it's always fast paced. So they give you that gritty look, that real feel street sensation.
What struck me, Angelo, was the beginning of the film, which is really people just living their lives, very ordinary, mundane tasks that they're undertaking. And then you have this very violent conclusion. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to know whether that was deliberate, that juxtaposition of the ordinary with this very extraordinary conclusion.
Yeah. So within the story of anybody who reads it's based on a true story, they know what happens at the end, right? But they don't really. I wanted to build up to what happened within those 24-day period, 24-hour period. So people live their regular life, just like Omar was living his regular life, and then police officers really going on through his regular life. The choices that you make within those matter of minutes or even hours, can change what happens at the end of the day. And just like when you wake up, you don't know, what's going to happen to you that day. Anything can happen, right? So this here, I want to show how human they both are, right? There was no intentions of both of them to do what happened at the end, right? So, but to get to where they wanted, they were cutting corners. You know what I mean? The officer didn't want to get any help. Omar Johnson, he thought he was doing what he was doing right. And he wanted to cut corners to get to that main goal. And sometimes when you do that, you do have problems that go in front of you. So, but I wanted to show them that they were both human. You know what I mean? And then people make mistakes, and the choices that you make has consequences.
And clearly, there's a bigger story to be told. So, is the plan to make a feature film?
Yeah, so the short film was a concept, part of my development packet. So I had another visual. So absolutely, I had written the feature film before I even made the short film concept. But the end game right now, the goal after we go through the short film circuit, then the next plan is the full feature length film.
And looking ahead to the future, Angelo, who are your inspirations in the directing field? And the style of the film that you want to make?
So with that one, I guess it really depends on the type of story I wanted to tell. Using 21st Colonial as an example, I wanted to have that gritty feel, the gritty look. So I looked onto Kathleen Bigelow, which from Hurt Locker. If you saw a lot of her movements are really quick, no jigs. It's always on shoulder cam, so it gives you that real life feel. And I usually mix in a little bit with the 21st Colonial. You saw it has a real close-ups, and I go back to the some older greats like director Leon Sergio. Sergio Leon. So he does those major low close-ups to the face. So it really depends on the story that I go with, but those are the people that influence. I always look back to the old ones and make it my own.
And one final question, Angelo, whose career would you like to emulate?
Well, geez, that's I kind of look and see. For I'm an actor first and foremost. That's my first love. I started directing and producing so I can develop stories that I think that I want to tell. So I don't know. It's interesting. I don't really have someone as an actor. I always look at actors like Christian Bale. You know what I mean? Those as a director, I like directors like Catherine Bigelow. I watch her stuff and see that kind of the kind of style she has. So I like those type of styles. So I don't know. It's always a mixture.
Well, we look forward to seeing you receive your Oscar then, like Catherine Bigelow.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bobbie, I'd like to come to you next, please. Obviously, I read out your background, which is not from the film industry, but the trailer that we've seen is for a very, really, again, another subject matter that is grim, potentially, but something that is very personal to you in this particular case. But before I come to the subject matter and the film that you've made, tell us a little bit about how you go from your real estate work to becoming a filmmaker.
Well, thank you so much for the question, and it's a privilege to be on with the panelists and moderator today. So thank you so much for the invitation. In addition to owning a mortgage company and a real estate investment company, I'm also a writer for over 20 years. So the transition to make a movie came somewhat naturally. The motivation for making the movie was to really rip the Band-Aid off the stigma of mental health in America and to let people know that there's other individuals just like them, normal everyday people that are going through similar things. And if we talk about it and work on it together, we feel it's something that we can make a difference with this picture, with not just educating people, but giving them best practices that they can use in their everyday life in order to improve on mental health in America, how to get resources, and try to change the narrative on this to a positive.
Now, Bobbie, a mental health journey and the trailer tells us that it is very much a journey for many people. For you, it's been a particularly sad and tragic journey. And if it's not too difficult, could you just share with us the thinking behind what made you come to this particular film?
Sure, of course. That's a great question. So my son struggled with mental health on and off since he was about 10 years old. And he would do better for a while, and then something would happen. He would slip a bit. Unfortunately, he made a bad decision after having some anxiety and some depression that he chose to self-medicate one day, and he accidentally came into contact with fentanyl. He came into contact with something and took it, not knowing what it was, and he died almost instantly. And as a parent, when it's your only child, nothing prepares you to lose your only son. Someone's asked me before, what's it like whenever the police are at your door and they tell you that your child's gone? And I say, pour gasoline on yourself and light yourself on fire, because that's about what it feels like. So this was an extremely personal decision for me to make this movie. And I was blessed with the co-creator, Josh Painter, and my other partners, Joshua Adams and Justin Snyder, that the four of us came together and said, this is an important story to be told. I didn't really want the documentary to be all about just my son. I wanted it to include several other different stories. So we actually follow 5 stories. We follow a gal with an eating disorder, a gal that was assaulted and how she came back from that, a gentleman with PTSD after serving in the military, and a professional athlete.
Thank you. Again, I hope that everyone else can hear you, because again, I'm having difficulty. And I see Wendy nodding. Are you saying that you can hear her? So I seem to be the only one who's having this problem. Let me see if there's anything I can do at this end. No. I can hear you, but very faintly, Wendy. Mental health is a subject that can be off-putting. People can feel that they've got fatigue about the subject. And I just wanted to know from you, because of what you've just said, why it's important to keep shining a light on it.
Absolutely, that's a great question. I feel like the fatigue is really coming from people being tired of not getting help and the resources that they deserve and that they need. I think that we have to change the narrative on this to turn it into a positive. And like I say in the film, it's not if you're going to have a mental health crisis in your life, it's when. So the fatigue of being able to be have lack of resources, the fear of helplessness, of not being able to know how to either help yourself or somebody else, that fatigue has got to go away. And we have to replace that narrative with something positive and show people, just like any other treatment you would get for cancer or a broken leg, this is no different. So our goal is to change the attitude on this, to get an open discussion on it, and to provide best practices for people to help themselves and help others.
And how helpful, if it was the making of the film to your own healing journey?
It probably was the most therapeutic thing that I did. At first, I'm not going to lie, there was a lot of tears and a lot of doubting myself if I could even do this. But then I knew that my son Spencer would want the story to be told. He always encouraged me to pursue my writing in addition to my mortgage company business. And I'm doing this in honor of him and to shine a spotlight on the struggles that people actually have, but also to make a difference and to show that things can turn around. People are not alone in this. And I know we've heard that tagline before, but I think when you see our film and you see 5 people that are just like you, they're all different races, religions, backgrounds, and ages. And when you see that the person down the street has gone through something similar to you, it gives you hope that you can do that. So for me, it's really what's kept me going for the last 2 years. And it's been a great way for me to direct my energy into something positive. And I'm grateful for my 3 partners on the film.
Thank you so much, Bobbie. It's a really important film to look out for, and I really look forward to seeing it.
Thank you so much.
Can I move on to Anna now? Hello, Anna.
I just unmuted. Okay, good.
Yeah. Now, Anna, we've spoken about this film before.
We have.
But this is a new version. The trailer is a new one.
Yes.
And what struck me both last time and this time is the color and the vivacious nature, the fun of it all. And playground, of course, in the title suggests fun. And there's lots of that in the film. But there is a more serious idea behind the film, isn't there? So
yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I basically took our world, took us to 2195 and imagined what it would be like if women had all the power. And in this clip, you see the women talking about sexual harassment, and they're just like having fun with it. They're like, you know what? Nothing happens to us, and we can just grab men's asses, and that's all right, because that's our world, and we have all the money and we have all the power. And it was a really incredible experience for us as actors, both men and women, to experience having that reversal as being the base of your acting. So, the women had to, touch the guys without any respect to their personal space, kind of like, when men, you're walking by and a guy just slaps your ass or touches you or feels like it's okay to go inside your personal space and touch you or hold your shoulder or help you up or whatever it is. So in this film, as a director, I had to tell, my actors and the women actors to be able to breach the space of the guys, and they were very uncomfortable, and the guys had to be really, really uncomfortable being touched by us, and they had to express, and at the same time want it, because the approval of the beings in power makes such a difference. And so when you reverse the gender, you experience this worldview internally, and it was at the same time very, very funny, because there are the guys going, oh my God, I have a muffin top and my ass is not tight enough and my nipples aren't perky enough. And, and they had to say those words, and they had to feel what it's like to be worried about every little hair upon your head before you appear in public, as we women do. And so it really kind of emphasized the continued inequity in our worlds. And and I just touched upon, talking just now, I just touched upon the body. I haven't even ventured into other areas of our lives,
And when you were filming from day to day, did the actors go away and say, I've really been thinking about this, and I'm thinking about it in a way that I've never thought about it before?
Oh, yes. We had those moments. Actually, everybody had those moments, including, and when I say everybody, I mean the crew, the cast. We had tears sometimes on set, because there was some really powerful moments where the men would really empathize with us, and some of the women would share some of their experiences and say, well, you know what, this happened to me. And I just remember one of the male actors, the actors in this movie, the men who played the districts, were so sympathetic to our plight and were so kind and were so conscious. But each one of them every single day would say to us, is this what your life is like? Does that really, really happen? Do you get asked that like all the time? And the other women or me, we would say, yeah, all the time, like all the time. And this was the incredible thing. And so everybody came away changed. And I actually, when I started the process, I don't think I knew that I would be as affected as I was. I would be as changed, that I would really understand that I am hitting upon something that's actually real, and that is kind of like an underlying dormant inequality within society, because we're so used to it and we've lived in this for so long.
But on the other hand, Anna, because a lot of your films touch on this subject of, and I'm going to use the term feminism in the loose sense, but it is about females and their life experiences. Do you get people who say, oh no, not another feminist film again?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I cure them with humor. I cure that statement with a little laughter. And I do get that. I remember I was at AFM and I met a bunch of teen boys, and they were like, what are you here for? What do you have? And I told them I have this movie. And I like to say, I start my pitch by saying, I always say the same thing. I say the year is 2195, women rule the world. I remember at Cannes, people, some of the men I would speak to, they would say, don't they already? And they would be like really upset about it, that I'm even going there, And then these boys said, oh yeah, so I finished my pitch. I said, women rule the world, men dream of getting married. And they're like, yeah, that was like, you're trying to like mock the 1950s, but now like it's all perfect. We don't have this problem, so I get a lot of people claiming or saying to me, this is not a problem anymore because feminism is alive and kicking, and the Me Too movement and everything like that. And I always say, yes, we've made progress. Yes, we continue to make progress, but we haven't really made that much progress. And I love to quote statistics, and they're very simple. How many women rule countries? How many women can you count on your hands? How many women billionaires are named, when we have those lists of billionaires? Who holds the money and the power? It's the men. And, I love you all men on this panel. This is not, like I always have to say this, that I am a feminist, a proud feminist, but I also, and I believe in having this conversation together between men and women. And, just because you're a feminist doesn't mean that you're aggressive or angry, and this is always the apology that every single feminist makes. But I think it's just simply about equality and justice, and about seeing the world that is evolved and where men and women actually work together to make decisions on a global scale for the other half of the human race, which is women. And we're so used to living in a world where we're not part of the global decision that we don't even notice it anymore, that we have to apologize for calling ourselves feminists.
It's like the John Lennon song, isn't it, where he starts for the other half of the sky.
Exactly.
I asked
exactly.
Angelo,
I love that.
I asked Angelo and Bobbie about the subject matters of their films, which are very the subject matters that people generally don't like to address. And you're dealing with a subject matter, as we've just discussed, that some people can find difficult. But the fun and the color and your filmmaking makes it very accessible. And again, the same question that I asked Angelo, I want to ask you, who has inspired your filmmaking and the style of filmmaking?
Well, I mean, I love so many different films and so many different directors, and I love serious films and I love really fun films. I love the movie Night at the Roxbury. I love a lot of comedy and a lot of slapstick comedy, and I have I clearly have favorites. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it. God, I don't know if I'm pronouncing Bar Lershman. Okay, no, I'm not pronouncing it right, so I'm just not going to say it. I was going to say a director's name, and then okay. So okay. I'm just thinking of like a whole bunch of people all at once, and I'm thinking of a whole bunch of comedies, but I really didn't prepare for coming up with people. I mean, I can tell you actors that I love and performances that I love, and I love Tina Fey. I love the Mean Girls. I love Amy Poehler. I love their comedic way of interacting. And everything that they do, from their actual live performances to their movies. And I want comedy, I want comedy to have a kind of punch to it. But at the same time, I do believe that comedy is the path to really freeing us to be able to accept things that are difficult to accept, issues that we may not be able to approach when we approach them comedically. Sometimes people are able to digest it more easily. And so I guess that's, I mean, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler have inspired me incredibly from all of their SNL days.
I would certainly agree with you there that comedy is often the pathway or the gateway rather to understanding the subject.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna. Moving to Wendy. Not a great deal of comedy in Mercy, Wendy.
No, not a lot.
But a really tough watch, but a really fascinating one. And again, a subject that you wouldn't perhaps think was on your mind until you saw the film, and then you think, well, why isn't it on my mind more? It's an incredible film, and there's a fantastic quote that you've used at the beginning, which says that in suffering we are all equal, whether you are a pig, a dog, a bear, or a boy. And that I found that really a fantastic way to start your film, because the character, if you like, of your film is a pig. Mercy is a pig, and we see the world through Mercy's eyes. And I just wanted to ask you, why did you decide on that as one way of telling this story?
I got involved in the topic because I heard about an investigation by Animal Aid about some abattoirs in the UK, and they investigated 10, and 9 out of those 10 were, or 8 out of them, no, they investigated 9, sorry, in the UK, and 8 out of the 9 were found to be abusing the animals. And I went and stood outside one that was quite near me. And so seeing what I saw, hearing what I heard, and seeing pigs come in, baby pigs, you know, all kinds of ages, but mostly young animals coming through in these huge trucks. I mean, I've since been in America and seen these even huger trucks, but that I found so overwhelming and disturbing, and something that I didn't really didn't want to think about, really, although I have been vegetarian on and off in my life. But it drove me to write about it, and not really having been a writer per se, just been an actor. And then I thought, how on earth can I tell a story about this subject? You see documentaries brilliantly made, like Earthlings, Cowspiracy, Dominion, Sean Monson's amazing films, and many more that deal with it hard and brilliantly. And then there's kind of cartoon things that are kind of cute for children. So how to tell this story without too much alienation, which is going to alienate people because it's such a hard topic. So in the end, there was one day we tried to name the pigs as they went through, just to give them an identity, and, you know, you matter. You're a being, and you mattered. And one day, one truck was going through, and I was looking into this one pig's eyes, and I had shot it on him or her, I didn't know, on my phone, and this particular pig made it into the film. And I said to my friend Paul standing near me, what should we call this one? And he said Mercy. So that's where the name came for this particular pig, and ultimately the film, although it was originally called Meat, but then more drafts came, and then as the drafts went on, it came that it wrote me in a kind of weird way, I have to say, because I kept trying to stop and it kept writing me. And eventually it was told through, initially, fundamentally, the protagonist is Mercy the pig. Although then the other characters that I didn't really want to be very sympathetic to, actually, as the writing process was happening, a sympathy came to them, which I hadn't expected, because I was down with these people, you know, and I couldn't be, because everyone's got their story. So long-winded answer, I'm so sorry.
Well, that's very similar to what Angelo said, that he didn't want to come down on one side, as well, because there are stories to be told on all sides. And your film is equally fair, even though it's very clear where your heart is. It's very fair the way that you deal with all sides of it. But it's a very difficult subject to take as your first directing experience, isn't it? And what were the challenges that you found? Because like Angelo, you've also moved from acting into directing.
Sorry, go on.
And I just wanted to ask you what challenges and rewards you found.
I think I've moved swiftly back to acting. I don't think I ever left, but the challenges were that I was driven to do it in the first place, because that took me out of all of my comfort zones. As you said earlier, how long I've been in this industry, like 45 years actually. And so that's what I know. So to write, then direct and produce, then edit, took me out of every single comfort zone that I had. And then having to try and find budget for it, which we never really fully did. Well, having been on such brilliant sets, I guess I osmosis just sucked in all the brilliance of not me being brilliant, but watching brilliance, being amidst it, gave me an idea how to do this without really knowing that I had an idea how to do it, if you see what I mean. So I didn't really know that I did. I just had to do it. So the challenge was not knowing, but then finding that somehow, you know, here I am chatting to you guys and being amidst all these amazing filmmakers, you know, and having made a film. So it's a challenge that I've got this far for sure. And the upside is that I've got this far. So it's a double-edged sword. It's quite amazing to me that to have got to this point, really.
You've screened the film at festivals. What's been the response from people who are sympathetic to the subject matter?
Mostly.
And maybe those who aren't so sympathetic.
Right. Mostly people cry. There's a lot of crying at the end, so people can't really speak very much at the end. And from people that have come, that have been, you know, hard, like families within that industry, have seemed to say to me, I think I'm going to try and not do this. I'm going to try and not at least eat that animal, or, you know, they've felt it's kind of connected with them, which is amazing.
And have you come up against anyone from the meat industry, if I can call them that, who have said, no, you've got this wrong?
No one's said that yet.
Good.
I wait for the knock on the door. Well, I researched it very, you know, it's taken 11 years, well, since 2011, really, to get it to here. So pretty much the facts are the facts, because it came from a real court case and then all the research from it. But no one has as yet.
And having completed the film, what was it that you learnt, both about yourself as someone who's taken on this challenge and about the industry that you were looking at?
I thought that by the time it ever would reach anybody, which, you know, that's been 11 years, that it would be obsolete. We wouldn't have this problem, and it's still the same pretty much, apart from now we have CCTV in the UK. I'm not sure about in all of lots of other countries, but not independently monitored. I guess I learned that I could be strong because there were many years of dark nights of trying to make a film and not having enough funding to get somebody to edit, somebody to do all these brilliant, you know, all the difficult jobs that are skilled, and just to keep going. I guess the resilience that I had just to keep going and not stop. So I didn't know that, I guess not quite to that level though.
Thank you, Wendy. We'll come back and talk
Thanks
some
for
more
having
in a
me.
moment. But Wendy, your answer leads me very nicely on to Ali, because you talked about financing and not always having the money. Ali, we've spoken before about the financial side of independent filmmaking. Broad question, what are the challenges generally for financing indie projects that you've come across over the years?
Challenges in financing projects, I think most of it is about having an actual producer who knows how to do the financing structure is one of the biggest challenges, because we talked about this yesterday, but a lot of the filmmakers think that they need, let's say, you know, they're making a movie for $1 million, they think they need $1 million, but that's really not the case. So a lot of times I see that people are struggling to put together the entire piece as just one, equity piece. But there's a lot of alternative ways that you can use and really, greenlight yourself in a smart way.
And what's the importance, would you say, of crowdfunding technology in the entertainment industry?
Well, it's completely groundbreaking in my opinion, because we're the only and first crowdfunding company, equity crowdfunding company in this space. There's a lot of crowdfunding companies. What we do is more equity crowdfunding, which is selling shares of the movie, not necessarily collecting, support for in exchange of perks. So when that happens, then you get a lot of, you become really familiar, you become really similar with the startup industry, and Hollywood almost looks like identical to the startup boom of 2004, 2000, and early 2000s in the Silicon Valley. So before the pandemic, we didn't have as many streaming platforms, and after the pandemic, now we have more than 420 new streaming platforms. That opens up the entire industry. That unclogs the entire pipeline, right? Because before this, you had a couple, 6 major studios, a couple minor studios, and you had distributors in these film festivals that would distribute your movie if and only if you have a celebrity and an A-list actor in it that somehow has a sales value. Now the landscape is changing fast, and I think it's the best time to be an independent filmmaker, as long as you have a minimum 90 minutes of content. I'm talking about feature films, but done in the right way, your likelihood of getting distribution is exponentially higher.
You may have answered my next question. What impact has the pandemic had on the indie market? You've mentioned the streaming services. Is there anything negative that the pandemic has had a particular effect on?
I thought it was early Christmas for the entire industry. I mean, I don't want to sound like the pandemic is awesome and all that. Obviously, the pandemic itself is very challenging for the entire humanity. I think it's still a challenge that we're still trying to fight, and it's going to take a little longer, turning into an epidemic almost. But for the entertainment industry, I thought it was really revolutionary because, again, with the streaming platforms, I haven't seen Christmas movies selling after August. September 1st is a deadline. This year, we went until December, and things are just selling a lot faster. Everybody's asking for more content, and new streaming platforms are coming into play, and bigger streaming platforms are coming into play. Now Paramount Plus is in, Amazon is in, obviously, and these guys are huge buyers. So pandemic created an amazing opportunity for independent filmmakers.
So the streaming services, the boom of the streaming services, is that a good thing for independent filmmakers because there are more markets for their work?
Absolutely, yes. I think now, as long as, again, you deliver a commercial movie in a way that is done properly, 90 minutes, and you have your act straight, then I think there's no way for you not to have proper distribution from any of the streaming platforms. Again, there's more than, when I looked at the statistics, it was 2021 summer, so I'm assuming there's a couple more. So we can definitely say more than 500 new streaming platforms now. If you're not selling a finished content, you're probably not talking to the right people, or you haven't yet. So I think just going around and asking more people about these opportunities, about sales opportunities, is a great idea.
And are you seeing any particular trends in terms of subject matter, for example, that the streaming services are buying? This is what they want more of because that's what audiences want.
You mean genre?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think I can't say this is declining because I think everything is selling these days. But feel-good movies are definitely rising. Movies that kind of give people a positive outlook and kind of a hope. Those are the times that we need those type of movies. I think same wave happened in the Second World War when, the U.S. would push an agenda, the government would push an agenda in Hollywood, push more feel-good movies because, you know, people needed to feel better during the war times. I think this is very similar, where everybody's, you know, in a whole different paradigm now, and they're trying to adapt, and the content that's selling more looks like more the feel-good content. And for the just to add this, in terms of adding the star power, now if you know, you mentioned I made my first movie with social media stars. That was 2015, 16, and you know, it was really new then, and the distribution was not necessarily there yet, because still the studio system was really powerful and the classic traditional distribution system was in place. But now, if you have an existing audience, and you know, through your cast, then your likelihood of getting acquired is a lot higher.
Thank you, Ali. Very helpful information there. Now, we've had some questions from the audience, and there's one, Anna, I'm going to leave you out of this for a moment because there's a specific question for you. But to the other filmmakers, one of the questions is that you've picked on what might be termed social justice issues. And we want to know, what made you choose the particular subjects that you did for your films? What was it that drew you to them? And what do you hope that your films will achieve? Perhaps if I start with Angelo again.
Yeah, so the way I tackled some of the subjects, most of the subjects, I say 90% of all the subjects have to do something about my community. Like for an example, the first one was human trafficking in Virginia. Virginia followed at the time when I did this years ago, followed right on the top of the list of one of the worst as far as human trafficking, domestic human trafficking, and I wrote a story about that. And then because I live in a military town, I have a lot of veterans who suffer from PTSD, mental illness, non-combative and combative. So I wrote a story around that issue as well. A lot of the things that I do is basically I take both sides of the story, you know, and I deep dive into it, and that's what helps me as far as an actor as well. And I know I need to feel the character, so I want the audience to feel, understand them. So most of the stories that I pick up is I start around my experiences and where I live at, and that's what I choose. Most of the topics is that what's important, and giving a voice to those who don't have one, basically.
Yeah. Thank you. And Bobbie, question for you. At what point did you feel compelled to tell your story?
A couple of months after my son died, and I realized that other people around us have similar issues. And I thought if we can just put a nice spotlight on it and show the beginning, the middle, the end, the good and the bad, I thought people would really relate to the movie. And I think that the stories that are told will resonate so well with such a wide cross section of America that even though some of the subject matter is difficult, most of the stories have a very positive ending. And our primary goal also with the film is to educate people. We come up with things, for example, of saying, instead of just saying to somebody, "How are you?" everybody answers fine. Say something like, "Tell me how you're doing." So the subject matter kind of came to me as far as the mental health issue. And within a few months after my son died, I felt like we could make a difference with this film. And that's why we decided to pursue it.
Thank you, Bobbie. Wendy, question for you on, again, the issues question that's been raised. In your film, you try and take lots of different points of view. How important do you think that is for both your film, but films in general, to have those different points of view?
For my film, I guess the same as all the others, but particularly I think the slaughtermen get a rough rap from you know, some parts of the community because of the job they do, but they're also in this dreadful trap, and lots of PTSD, mental health issues exist in those environments. So I felt it was important to highlight that.
Thank you, Wendy. Anna, I said I'd come back to you because there are some questions for you. What is the future for women in film? A lot of big questions for you to answer. What do you see as being the future for women? Where do you think women are going in the industry? And how do you break the ceilings?
Okay, so yeah, this is an incredible question. I definitely, and I appreciate the person who asked it. I definitely think that we're making changes. Women are starting to, there are many more female directors now, more female producers, but I think that going forward, it's so important for women to be in leadership positions. It's so important for women to be the ones raising the money, to be the ones who are calling the shots. It's so important for women to become the producers, the executive producers, the ones who are deciding on what content is out there, how that content is presented, and basically the showrunners running the show. And I think that that's one of the critical ways, and also obviously behind the camera, more female crew members, more female cinematographers. And I think that we still have ways to go, especially when it comes to funding and to being the ones who are truly in power, so that when you're pitching your show not just to male producers but also to female producers who are interested in the nitty-gritty of female lives and female emotional worlds. And I think shows like Yellow Jackets, which I am totally obsessed with, I think is breaking gender stereotypes. I loved Mrs. Fletcher, which was with Catherine Hahn, and it was amazing because she embraces sex. And one of the ways that I think we have a long way to go is where women are embracing sex on screen in a way that men have embraced sex on screen without any apologies, without any fears, without any prudery. And just saying, when they wanted, how they wanted, and this is what they want, without apologizing for it. And I think that that's part of the power game. Part of it, it's all interconnected. It's all interconnected with feminine power and feminine empowerment. And people talk a lot about feminine empowerment, but they don't talk enough about sex. And I think they should talk more about sex just overall in general when it comes to women. And I think that's, the question was how to break the stereotypes. And I think that those are the two critical ways. Money and sex, money, power, and sex.
We're back to music, Anna. Salt and pepper. Let's talk about sex. Thank you, Anna. Bobbie, a question for you, because there's a lot of interest in your film. What are your plans? What are your future plans for the film? Will it be showing at festivals, distribution rights? Anything that you can tell us at this stage, please?
Thank you for that great question. We are currently looking for a distributor on the film in order to be able to have it shown either on a streaming service or something similar like that. And our long-term goal is to also have it available for colleges to use as educational material for freshmen. Most colleges require that freshmen take a life skills class. And so we've actually created a workbook around mental health and tied into the movie so college students can also learn best practices themselves. And then my ultimate long-term goal would be I'd love to turn it into a TV series. I found and interviewed enough people to come up with about 20 compelling stories. Women with postpartum depression, people that have a terminally ill child. There's so many compelling stories out there, all related to mental health, but also to mental wellness, because my goal is to change the narrative on that to turn it into a positive thing. So hopefully we'll have a streaming deal and distribution deal soon. And we'll also be able to turn it into another avenue.
Bobbie, I wish you the very best of luck with the film. It's going to be incredible, and I really hope that it's seen by as many people as possible. Ali, two questions for you. Where did the idea for Film Capital, what's first sparked the idea? And secondly, what is the first step for an independent filmmaker when they're looking at financing a film?
The idea came from my own experience in film finance. I worked with a couple companies and film financiers, and I saw that there's a huge gap for independent filmmakers, because I would be approached in the film festivals by independent filmmakers, and sometimes I'd be heartbroken because I would love the story, but we wouldn't be able to help. And that's why I created Film Capital, because it's the first crowdfunding platform in Hollywood. And So the idea in summary came from my own experience, especially at the film festivals, trying to help independent filmmakers tell their stories, but we wouldn't be able to do it because the traditional system wouldn't allow. So I just wanted to create a leap for everybody and an opportunity for diverse stories to be told, and just give a chance to independent cinema. I think it's it's the core of what we do, and I think the traditional systems are kind of taking the fun away. So not in a I'm based in a movie studio. I love the studio system, but I think like now that we need more content with the new demand, then might as well just supply it. That was my idea with Film Capital. For your second question, I think the best way to start is to create a budget and understand how much you need to spend, and then pick the location where you need to shoot the movie. And I'd recommend the location. I think mediaservices.com is a great source for you to understand which states within the United States offer the most suitable tax rebates or credits for your movie. And that if you could always shoot it in a different country like Romania, Turkey. Those are also offering really great opportunities. And then once you figure out how much equity you need to collect, then it's time to either get a really good talent and then get pre-sales through your distributor, or start knocking on the door with your story, whether it be VCs or institutional investors, family offices, high net worth individuals. I think you just have to go ahead and start scouting. Before all that, if you need to solve it all at once, that's why again we created the platform for investment platform. So you can kind of find your online audience and start collecting already, because I think the most important thing in raising money in general, not only for movies, is momentum. So once you have a great momentum that a lot of people are flocking towards you, then for every investor it creates a FOMO, and then you're in, and you really have to do your work. You have to study fundraising. You have to understand what kind of tax incentives you can offer to your investors. If you know everything about that's being offered, then you can make sure that you're not missing an opportunity. But a lot of people fail to take advantage of tax credits, again, crowdfunding and stuff like that. So go above and beyond if you're really serious about making a movie. I think that's the biggest source. And again, when you're talking to investors, if you're not passionate, if you have a very lower tone and you're just pitching something like this, and then people won't get excited. If you're excited, if you're passionate, then people will get passionate with you. Those are the things that I'd recommend.
Fantastic advice. Thank you, Ali. We're going to wrap up, but before I do, I'm going to ask each of you where to next. What are the projects that you're working on? So perhaps Ali, I can start with you.
The next film, the movie.
Any project that you're interested in and becoming involved in?
Oh, right now our 2022 calendar is booked. So we're wrapping up the movie that we shot late 2021, which is Alaska. We shot it in LA, and we're getting into production now for another feature film from a really talented director from Portland. We're shooting it in Portland, and then in June we're shooting a social impact documentary. And then after that, we have another feature film to be shot in Turkey. And if we can squeeze one more in for 2022, I think I will. But for now, more of a bigger budget movie, a social impact documentary, and a low budget thriller is on my agenda.
That's a pretty full slate, Ali. Good luck with all of that.
I try.
Bobbie,
Thank you.
What's next for you?
Next is obviously trying to find a distribution outlet for us and continuing to promote the movie, doing a tour, submitting to festivals, and just spreading the word as much as possible and changing the narrative on mental health into something more positive with mental wellness.
Great. Best of luck to you.
Very much.
Angelo?
So my next objective is to make the 21st of Colonia into a feature. And then in between that, I'm working on the next short film concept, which is Invisible Wound, which is also 2 stories about, I was telling you, 2 with PTSD veterans, one with sexual assault in the military, and the other one is combative. So I'm putting that thing together to pitch this year as well.
Thank you, Angelo. Wendy, what's up for you?
Well, getting Mercy out, and I have a short already written about cows, and a feature written, which could be a series, about cold water swimming called Swim, and I've got a little. I've got some improv comedy. I'm doing a couple of shows next week. I'm waiting to hear on some films coming up, so hopefully a little bit of acting coming up too.
The cold water swim seems to be a big subject at the moment. There's a TV series on at the moment, so
right,
yeah, very popular.
Yeah.
And Anna, what's coming up for you?
So I have a film that I've been working on that's my next the next feature that I want to tackle. It's called How to Seduce Your Dinner Guest. And my 2 pilots that I am also working on bringing into life. One is called Infidelity Club, which is a cheating club for women. And then the other one is called Healthy Nuts, which is also a fun comedy. And I can't wait to have Galaxy 360, a woman's playground, out there in the movie theaters. Hopefully after the pandemic is, you know, a blip in our communal history, and, you know, having to share that film with the world, and possibly having panels around the film and having people discuss how it affects them, and really launching it into Movement 360, where men and women come together and discuss how we can improve, you know, the situation for women, and where men are really part of the conversation and they're part of the feminist conversation.
Amazing. I wish you the best of luck with that. And if you come to London with your panel discussions, please do get in touch.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you. Thank you, Ali, Bobbie, Angelo, Wendy, Anna. Thank you so much. You've been an absolutely fantastic panel. And to our event producers, Nicole Mudge, thank you so much, Nicole. To Gotham Chandna, who's been keeping it all going. Thank you, Gotham. And we look forward to next year, and hopefully we'll be able to meet in person. So until then, goodbye.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.